guys, this is Vader and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to go through my personal statement that has gotten me 8 interviews from 12 schools that I applied. I later on also applied for Canadian schools, and I got interview from Western Schulikov Dentistry. And if you're American watching this, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, that's okay. So the bottom line, I think this is like literally the perfect personal statement in my non-humble and biased opinion, and we're gonna delve into that. A couple of points though before we get there. Like the reason you're writing this personal statement is to just sell white dentistry. Now that should be like extremely clear in your personal statement. That doesn't have to be like the first paragraph though. The first paragraph's job is to capture the audience's attention. We're gonna delve into that just now. But the reason, like the core foundation of it is white dentistry with your personal like spin on it, if you will. So. And it's called a personal statement for a reason. It should be done personally. Now, a lot of people say, I was 3 years old. I broke my tooth. I fell off the bike. I broke my tooth, and I went to a dentist, and they fixed my teeth. And I later on went to like orthodontics, sitting on a dental chair. I was afraid. The orthodontist fix my smile, and my goodness, the world is beautiful. You can say those stuff, but no one's gonna believe that. No, I'm kidding. A lot of people say those stuff. Actually, they can get in. But my personal statement is really personal. It's just different, and I think that's why it's great. And without any further ado, let's just jump in. To this day, I still remember that rainy evening in October 2013. With 6 suitcases on the side of a room, I was unsure where I was or why I was there. All I knew was that I had a one-way ticket to Toronto. Although leaving loved ones behind was painful, the more challenging part of this transition was that I could not speak a word of English. It is not the most pleasant experience for a 15-year-old boy to enter his first class in high school and look puzzled when his teacher asks a question as simple as providing his name. Meanwhile, he sees other students giggling in the back, and he stands awkwardly in front of the classroom, unsure of what is going on or what he should do. Yes, that awkward boy was me. Going only 2 years forward from this point, I had already improved my grades from low 70s to mid 90s, was nominated for the high school math award, and had finally aced the IELTS exam despite being forced to write it 3 times. Okay, this is the intro, and I believe it can capture the reader's attention. Why? Because I think it's kind of like dramatic, isn't it? Like a 15-year-old boy showing up to the class not knowing how to speak English, just standing awkwardly in front of a classroom. Like people think how awkward the situation is, and it is awkward, and that awkward boy was me. So I think that's good. But also I use, like, by the end of it, I'm kind of like bragging about how much I improved in only a span of 2 years. So it has a dramatic beginning that captures the reader's attention, but also I use it to kind of like brag about my improvement, if you will. Okay, let's jump back. My enjoyment of science classes in high school and desire to help others through my knowledge has started me thinking about a career in healthcare. The fact that neither of my parents were in healthcare allowed me to look at my options with open eyes. To see what career paths are out there, I joined the Internal Medicine Student Club in my freshman year. This club provided a stage for different healthcare professionals to showcase their field to students. This was the first time that the idea of dentistry as a career sparked in me. Being a life science student who has played music for 15 years and seeing how dentistry allows people from a science background to express their artistic selves sounded compelling. To get a better insight into this profession, I started shadowing 2 family dentists by the end of my freshman year. Being in the dental office and hospital allowed me to directly compare dentistry to other healthcare professions. I saw dentistry as a very meticulous and hands-on field with an artistic aspect that enables one to have real impact on patients' lives. I also found dentistry to be a multifaceted career in which dentist takes x-rays, diagnoses, and treats patients. Another rewarding aspect of dentistry is a long-term relationship that a dentist builds with his patients that can last a lifetime. If joining the Internal Medicine Student Club sparked an interest in me, my shadowing experience proved that dentistry is my dream career. Now, the second paragraph, I just hit them with white dentistry. In the first paragraph, I captured their attention of you know, if anyone reads this essay, they're going to be like, well, that's a pretty cool story, but like, where is the why dentistry question answered? Okay, so this is the second paragraph is for that. And what I like about this paragraph is that I go and explain why healthcare, and then I go explain why dentistry, and I think that's very important. And again, back to the personal aspect of personal statement, I explained that neither of my parents were in healthcare, so I had to go out there and explore my options basically. And I volunteered in a hospital, and I shadowed in a dental office, and comparing these two allowed me to choose dentistry. So I'm kind of like bragging about my extracurricular activities a little bit here. Although I'll do that a little bit like more like after this paragraph. I talk about my volunteering experience in the hospital and my shadowing experiences, and like comparing them and saying like, you know, I've been in both places. So, and you know, I saw different healthcare professions, and dentistry is the one that I choose for myself. So that's what I like about it. I'm kind of like bragging about my extracurricular activities without actually bragging about it. And I just give them also 3 valid reasons that, you know, healthcare, being like hands-on, being multifaceted in the long-term relationships. So it's not like willy-nilly said like in the essay. I just state them like very clearly why dentistry is a path that I can see myself. Now, your reasonings might be different than mine, and it should be different than mine, hopefully. And like, for instance, if your parents are dentists, you can make the argument that there is no better way to make sure dentistry is the right profession for you unless you see not only the shadowing but also like day in and day out life of the dentist, right? So you can talk about that. Or like if your parents are like in like physicians, like I don't know, like working in ER or something like that. So you can say, hey, I really liked how much my parents love their job and like they're like giving back to society and, you know, all of those good stuff. But I wanna be in a position that, like, for instance, if your parents are again in like emergency medicine doctors, but you can say, hey, I want to be in like a position that I get to know my patients on one-to-one basis. You can say that. Or I want to like spend more time with my family later on. Although you got to be careful when you say those stuff. When you say, hey, I'm going to be my own boss, I can make money and like I can spend time with families. Like making money and those stuff these days, they're not like true, at least for just dentists who just graduated from dental school. It's just not objectively true. You gotta be careful though, because when someone is sitting like in the admission office, they might wonder like your reasonings behind why getting into dental school. You can say those things, but you have to be careful about how you're putting those words together in the essay, so it doesn't come off wrong, if you know what I mean. And by the way, pretty much you can say the same reasonings in the why dentistry question when you get your interview, and you will, don't worry. And definitely one of the questions that will come up on an interview is why dentistry, and if you have written a good essay here, you're going to be good to go. As an undergrad, I co-founded Diversity in Dentistry to open a window for disadvantaged students to reach their dreams of becoming a dentist. I also gained teamwork and leadership skills throughout my years of experience in various roles in different student clubs. By creating the Association of Leadership Educators, ALE, I utilized my experiences to train up-and-coming students on how to be successful leaders. In addition to creating ALE, tutoring students in their academics allowed me to practice mentorship skills. Furthermore, by taking lab courses and volunteering in research labs, I have gained research techniques that I see myself utilizing later in my academic career for advancing the dental field. Now, again, back to this one, bragging. But I'm tying those experiences to dentistry, right? So if I did research, which I did, I'm saying, hey, you know what? I can see myself utilizing that later on in my academic career. So, and again, back to the community aspect, creating diversity in dentistry to help out those disadvantaged students. So not only I explain those like experiences in my, I don't know, what's the experience section of the SS application, or if you're a Canadian watching this, into the like autobiography thing in Western application. So those parts I thought is pretty important for the person who's sitting in the admission office to read. And I quickly highlight those, like each like experience in like a sentence or two, and I link them back to dentistry, and I think that's very important. My undergraduate academic life has had its ups and downs. My GPA suffered throughout the second and third years of my undergraduate studies. In the fourth year, I realized the one fact that turned my entire academic life around. It does not matter how beautiful the notes I take look, because the information is simply useless if it's not ingrained in my brain. Hence, I started listening to lecture recordings and actively recalling the material by explaining the lessons myself. Although this was an unorthodox method of studying, it resulted in better understanding and thus better grades. Moreover, I had to write the DAT 3 times to improve my marks in the reading comprehension and perceptual ability sections. By doing numerous practice tests and seeing what strategies work in each section, I finally got a competitive score. A feeling of joy rushed through my veins when the final result appeared on the screen. Yes, I had put the last piece of the puzzle into its place. Now, this one, I'm using the personal statement to say my personal story of why I sucked in the second and third year. Okay, so this is, if your GPA, again, like myself, kind of like went downhill in some years, or like even like some semesters of your academic life, you can definitely use this space to kind of like explain your reasonings behind it. Now, keep that in mind though. Say these things after you have already captured the audience's attention, and also you have stated why dentistry. Don't just jump in and say, hey, you know what? I was going through this life crisis and this and that, so my GPA. Like, no one wants to hear those like crying out loud stories. So these stories have been said after I have convinced the admission office that I'm a good applicant, and this adds a bit more like personal, like a story, like twist to it, if you will. But also it will explain why my GPA kind of like went downhill and it again went up. So I think that's important to mention it. Looking at my journey and seeing how many obstacles I have overcome highlights that I am someone who always shows resilience and does not lose his motivation when forced with adversity. I may not have had a light bulb moment on the dental chair when a dentist fixed my smile, but I have made an informed decision about my dream career and have worked tirelessly to reach it. Now, the last paragraph, in my non-humble and biased opinion, it was just done beautifully, because I literally just state the quality of resilience, which was showed off by the personal statement. Because when someone moves to a country where they can like speak a word of their language, which was English in this case, and then goes through all of this and it still can, not lose heart, I think that's resilience is one of those attributes that I believe I have, and I have showcased it in my personal statement and have just literally like said in the last paragraph. And I think it's a very different personal story than like the more like traditional way of saying, hey, I went to an orthodontics and they fixed my smile. So I think just it was awesome, and I'm proud of it, to be honest. So I hope you guys gained something out of this. By the way, please, I should have mentioned this by the beginning of this video. Don't just copy and paste what I've just written here, because that's plagiarism. That's very stupid. Don't do it, man. You're gonna get your application denied if you do it. This is kind of like a template for you, or like some guidelines, if you can think of it that way. So for you to see what's a good personal statement, and I hope you gained something out of it. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. You can say those stuff, but you have to be really careful about like how you're like synthesizing. You can say those stuff, but you have to be careful how you're like putting those words and like synthesizing.